Hello everyone, I'm Lana. I must be one of the oldest people here sharing a story. There's a first time for everything. This story is being written by Riley, who was married to my grandson Joe. My late husband Matt and I raised Joe since he was a toddler after his parents died in a tragic car accident. We were the only ones left to care for him. We watched him grow and supported him in every way possible to ensure his success in life. When Joe showed up with Riley and told us they had gotten married, Matt and I were shocked. We were hurt that they had eloped right out of high school. Riley's parents had disowned her because of the wedding, so Joe brought her to our house. We took them both in and promised to help them out. Joe went to college while Riley stayed behind and took care of us. Eventually, Joe got a great job and started achieving his goals. We were proud of him, but things were about to take a turn for the worse. Shortly after Joe landed a high-level job in a cutthroat industry, he and Riley were even planning to have a child. However, a few months later, Riley arrived crying on our doorstep. She was a mess, and we didn't know what to do. When she came in, I asked, "What is going on, Riley? You look horrible. Why are you crying so much? You need to tell us what happened. You're starting to scare us." "I don't know what to say, guys. Joe has left me. He's gone." "What are you talking about, Riley?" I asked. "I'm telling you the truth, Matt. Joe is gone, and so is his stuff. He left a note saying he wants to divorce me and start a new life. He doesn't love me anymore." Riley went into a sobbing fit while Matt and I tried to wrap our heads around what we had just heard. It was bizarre and hard to believe. Joe had been growing distant from all of us, and we were planning to talk to him about it. But before we could, Riley arrived at our doorstep. Matt and I calmed Riley down and decided to talk to Joe separately. We immediately called him, praying that this was just a misunderstanding. When he picked up, Matt nervously said, "Where are you, Joe?" "I just found your wife crying on our doorstep. She's saying you have abandoned her. What's going on? Tell me this isn't true." "It's not a joke, guys. I've left her for good. Riley and I are done." Joe's voice was serious, and it was clear he wasn't joking. Matt and I were stunned. We had always thought they were happy. Joe had often said he married the love of his life. I couldn't imagine he would do this to her. "You can't be serious, Joe. Riley is your wife. You can't just up and leave for no reason." "I haven't left without any reason, Grandma. I told her in detail how I no longer love her." "What happened, Joe? Why did your feelings suddenly change? You need to tell us everything so we can understand." "I can tell you, but I don't think you'll get it." "We will try, Joe. We love you, and we want to know what's wrong. We can't let you just abandon your wife without knowing the real reason. Tell us and let us think of a solution." "Look, I don't need your permission to do what I want, but if you're so interested in knowing the truth, I'll tell you. Now that I have a great job, I can't have an average girl like Riley as my wife anymore." Matt and I were stunned into silence. We couldn't believe our little grandson Joe had turned into such a vile and shallow person. We didn't raise him to abandon people or to think this way. His words made us both very angry. "What is this nonsense, Joe? You are being downright mean and delusional. Riley is a great girl, and you are insulting her. This is not how a marriage works. Riley loves you, and you love her. That's what's most important." "That's not true. I want a better wife because I could have a better one. And guess what? I already found someone who's way better than Riley. My new girlfriend is more beautiful and successful. They don't even compare." The conversation kept getting worse with every sentence Joe said. Matt and I were getting angrier. Joe was being extremely nonchalant and admitted he had an affair. Still Matt and I knew we had to find out more about what happened. Knowing the whole truth was important for us and for Riley. "Are you telling us that you had an affair, Joe, and you're leaving Riley to be with your mistress? Is that what you're saying? Call it whatever you want. I don't care what name you give to our relationship. The fact is, I am in love with my new girlfriend, and she is everything to me now." "What about Riley, Joe? She was everything to you too. That's what you told us when you asked for our help and blessing to get married." "I was young and stupid, Grandpa. I really should have waited before settling for an average girl. Thank God I realized my mistake before having kids with her. I would have been stuck with her for life." "I don't believe this, Joe. You're being so nonchalant about all of this. You've made a huge mistake and crossed a major boundary by cheating on your wife. You've disappointed us, Joe." "Well, I don't care. I'm happy with my new woman, so you should be happy for me too. She made me realize that I was wasting my time with an insignificant woman. She was right. She is so much better than Riley. Matt was getting very angry with Joe, and this last comment pushed him over the edge. He despised cheaters as much as I did. Joe might have been our grandson, but he was acting like a different person. He expected us to accept his new life and not hold him accountable for his actions. But we weren't willing to do that. In his anger, Matt said, "No, absolutely not, Joe. We will not be happy about what you've done, and we will never accept your new life." I had to agree with Matt. "Joe, from your words, it's clear that this woman knew you were a married man, so she wasn't in the dark about what she was doing. This is just plain wrong, and we will never accept a girl like that." "Very well then," Joe replied. "This makes things much better. My new girlfriend doesn't want me to be so close to you guys anyway. She thinks you try to control me and that I will never reach my full potential if I keep listening to you." Looks like she was right. I winced when Joe said that. The more he talked, the further away I felt from him. I used to see the essence of my son in Joe, but the man on the phone didn't even feel like he was related to me. Joe was so influenced by his new girlfriend that he was ready to cut us off for her. He actually said those words out loud, choosing this girl over the people who raised him. Tears welled up in my eyes from the sheer betrayal. I said in a shaky voice, "You will abandon us for this woman too." "How can you even say that, Joe?" "I'm serious about this, Grandma. Lana has been right about everything. If you can't even be happy for me, you don't deserve to be in my life." "Is that a threat, Joe? If we don't forgive you for your nonsense and accept your new girlfriend, will you cut us off?" "Yes, I actually will do that. Since you want to take Riley's side so badly, let her be your grandchild instead of me. I'm done. We raised you for 20 years, and this is how you repay us. We did our best and sacrificed a lot to make sure you were taken care of. Now we know that it was all in vain. You have turned into an absolute monster." Those were some of the last words Matt spoke to Joe. The conversation that followed is not worth mentioning. There was a lot of back and forth, and Joe ended up calling us some awful things. I knew he was hurt that we didn't accept his choices right away. But what option did we have? We weren't going to blindly support Joe's decisions just because he is our grandson. He was behaving like a very cruel person and putting this new girl above everyone else. He also showed no remorse for the wrongs he had done. It absolutely broke our hearts when Matt and I finally ended our conversation with Joe. We knew one thing: Joe was beyond help now. He was adamant about cutting us off if we didn't accept his new life. He was forcing us to do something we didn't want to do. In the end, before we could even make a decision, our grandson cut us off for good. He blocked us everywhere, effectively severing all connections. Joe and Riley ended up getting a divorce after Joe didn't come back for a full year. Riley was a mess and relied on me and my husband for emotional support. We invited her into our home because she was devastated by what Joe did to her. Matt and I never regretted the decision to make Riley a part of our family. When our own grandson abandoned us, Riley was there. After she got back on her feet and became emotionally strong, she became our rock. Joe didn't talk to us for 5 years, not a single word. We never reached out because it was never our decision to cut him off. Matt and I miss our grandson, I won't lie about that. However, his betrayal cut deep and left us bleeding inside. My husband never got to see or talk to Joe again. He died before Joe reached out to us. When Matt passed away, I didn't know whether to invite Joe to the funeral. I was a broken mess and wanted my grandson there. It was Riley who convinced me to call him. She said, "Listen to me, Lana. I know you miss your grandson. Go and call him, tell him what happened, and ask him to come to the funeral." "I don't know, Riley. I still haven't forgiven him for what he did." "It was a long time ago, Lana. It's okay if you don't want to forgive him, but I think you will always feel guilty and have regrets if you don't try once. Don't you think inviting him to the funeral will be a good idea?" "I feel really unsure, Riley." You and Matt raised Joe almost like your own child, Lana. As a parent, you could give him this one chance to grieve someone he loves. Joe loved you too. Maybe this time you will finally see how wrong he was to cut you off. Riley's words gave me some hope. She was right. I didn't want to regret not calling Joe to the funeral. Maybe he still loved us and would want to pay his respects to his grandpa one last time, even if he was too prideful to talk to us. It was my duty to reach out to him. Besides, Riley had moved on with a great man, and I was ready to try and mend the bridges with Joe too. So I said to Riley, "Okay, Riley, I will invite Joe to the funeral, but he has blocked me everywhere. I don't have his contact anymore. I don't know how to reach him. Don't worry, Lana. He never blocked me on social media. I can reach out to him on your behalf. You can dictate the message and I'll type it out and send it to him. That sounds great, Riley. I hope you're right about this. I don't want to have any regrets if Joe wants to pay his final respects to his grandfather. Riley excitedly sent the text that I dictated to her. I was starting to have some hope after Riley talked to me about possibly moving on from the incident. She didn't like that Joe had boycotted us and we lost our bond with him. Sometimes she felt guilty, although none of this was her fault. She never told us not to support Joe's decision, and she didn't tell Joe to block us or leave us. Despite what happened in the past and the fact that Joe never reached out again, I was willing to take the chance. I was ready to have some closure and maybe find it in my heart to forgive him. My hopes were short-lived. The first indication came when we found out that Joe had received and seen the message, but he never replied. We had provided all the details of the funeral, so we thought maybe he didn't need more information and might still show up. Riley and I held onto a sliver of hope that he would turn up at the funeral. I was willing to extend an olive branch just to see if he had changed a little. Believe me, I really wanted Joe and me to have a relationship despite everything. I was looking forward to seeing him, but my hopes were in vain. The funeral came and went. It was a beautiful day with the sun shining brightly, a day Matt would have liked. The service was very emotional but went well. Riley held me throughout the entire time. Joe never showed up. I kept looking at the door, hoping he would arrive any minute. When I went home, the realization hit me hard. Joe hadn't bothered to show up at Matt's funeral. I can't tell you how heartbroken I was. It sealed my resolve about the decision I had left to make. A day after the funeral, Matt's will was to be read. Riley and I were patiently waiting for Matt's estate lawyer to arrive. The first person to walk through the door wasn't our lawyer, it was Joe. I was dumbfounded to see him nonchalantly walk into the house with complete disregard. I said, "What are you doing here, Joe?" "What do you think I'm doing here? I heard that you're supposed to read the will today. What does it have to do with you? I'm your only grandson, in case you've forgotten. I've come to take my rightful inheritance from Grandpa." I was stunned by what Joe said. Riley was equally surprised, and his words shocked her even more. I wasn't hurt anymore. I was fuming with rage. I looked Joe straight in the eye and said, "You have some nerve showing up after 5 years and straight up demanding money. You didn't even come to Matt's funeral. Did you have any respect for your grandfather, Joe? Oh, stop the theatrics right now. There was no need for me to show up at the funeral. What would I have said anyway? It's not like I've come to reestablish anything. I've just come for my rightful inheritance. What makes you think you are entitled to anything after you abandoned us for 5 years? I'm not here to entertain your stupid questions, Grandma. Just call the lawyer and tell him to be here soon. I don't have much time." Joe's coldness made my heart boil. I was furious and wanted to throw him out immediately, but I decided to teach him a good lesson instead. I picked up my phone and told our lawyer to come over immediately. He was already on his way and arrived within minutes. Joe didn't bother with small talk and ignored Riley completely. When the lawyer arrived, Joe looked excited. However, my lawyer was confused and said, "Why is Joe here? This is a private will reading. He doesn't need to be here." Joe replied, "I'm here to get my inheritance from Matt's estate. I'm his sole heir." The lawyer said, "That's ridiculous. I never called Joe for the reading. He doesn't need to be here at all." "What? Of course I needed to be here. I'm the sole heir of Matt's estate. I know that already." "I don't know who told you that, but you are mistaken, Joe. You are not the sole heir of Matt's estate. In fact, you are not even mentioned in the will. I don't believe a word you're saying. I'm definitely included in the will. I'm his grandson and his only heir. Why wouldn't I be mentioned?" While Joe raged with confusion, I was enjoying watching him squirm. He deserved it for what he did to us. As Joe acted all shocked, I decided to serve him some cold, hard revenge. I said, "Oh, Joe, you are a dense man. You want to know why you haven't been named in the will? Well, it's because Matt disinherited you. No, that's not possible. He wouldn't do that to me. I'm his blood, his only surviving heir. He would never disinherit me. Do you think we believe in that old-fashioned stuff? Matt wanted to leave his inheritance to someone who deserved it, not just someone with his blood. This can't be happening. I'm the rightful heir. How could he leave his estate to anyone else? If he disinherited me, who got my share of the inheritance? You really want to know? Matt gave it to Riley. Joe and Riley were both stunned. They looked at the lawyer for confirmation, and he simply nodded. It came as a shock to them, but not to me. Matt and I had jointly decided to cut Joe off and give everything to Riley. Joe couldn't accept this. He turned pale and said, "This has to be a joke. Why would he leave everything to Riley? This is not fair." Then what is fair, Joe? Do you really think Matt would leave his hard-earned assets to a grandson who abandoned him and didn't even bother to show up at the funeral? I'm his blood. Matt wouldn't do that to me. Believe me, Joe, he was perfectly happy making this decision. If you think I'm tricking you, the lawyer will show you the will. How could you let him do this, Grandma? It was an easy decision, Joe. We raised you, but you only managed to stab us in the back and abandon us. Riley was here for us, and she is the rightful heir to our estate. I won't be here for long, so you better remember this. I will also disinherit you and leave everything to Riley. You will never get another cent from me, and you will pay for abandoning us. I vividly remember what happened next. I went straight to the front door and opened it myself, showing Joe the way out. When he was gone, the will was read, and true to my word, Joe's inheritance was left to Riley. She was a crying mess and thanked us for being her family when her own blood turned their backs on her. I simply said that she did the same for me and Matt. Joe left that day but continued to try and contact me. He was desperate for reconciliation and even left his new wife, who had previously convinced him to cut us off. Suffice it to say, he is going through hell while I am preparing to watch Riley walk down the aisle to her happiness. I still miss Matt like crazy, but I can't say I miss Joe at all. He chose to abandon us, and I have finally made my peace with it. I have Riley along with the beautiful memories of my husband and children, which are enough to last me this lifetime.